Hey guys, welcome to day 4. So first of all, there was no stream yesterday for anyone wondering who's showed up and was looking yesterday. We decided to do an off day so some people could catch up. But we're back today with one of our easier streams today, and we're gonna be going over Git and GitHub today, which aren't exactly JavaScript, but rather important to contributing to an open source repository on GitHub, which is the other thing we're going over, which Pokemon Showdown is. So, also a very important part of the class. Um, there shouldn't be too difficult of an assignment today either, so don't worry too much about that. Um, we may not get as many people today because it looks like a number of people are going to be busy today, unfortunately. However, I don't want to go multiple days in a row without a stream unless it's really necessary. So we'll just keep going here. So let's see here. Let's go ahead and just hop right into this. So, I will go ahead and explain things without having it on the start screen. So, we're going over Git and GitHub. GitHub is a website which is pictured here. This is my dashboard on GitHub that basically works with Git. But before you can really understand what GitHub is, you have to kind of understand what Git is. And Git is basically a version control, open source version control software. So its job basically is to control the specific version of code. It does this through a combination of things called commits, which you could think of as, hey Jolty Knight, welcome to stream. Commits, which are basically each individual change. Hey Leaf, welcome to stream. And branches, which are basically different versions of the code, but it's fairly complicated to just give it a summary like that, I suppose. At least I can't think of a really good way to summarize it. So we'll break it down into a lot of different parts and go from there. Let me double check if this is an important ping or not, and then we'll get going. No, it's not. Good. Okay, let's go ahead and get started then. Alright, cool. Thanks, Jolt. Alright, so Git and GitHub. So there's various parts to Git. Git is something that's on your command line, at least that's where we'll be using it. So you should have it installed. That was in the requirements. And GitHub, you should have an account for it also in the requirements. If you don't, feel free to follow along and set it all up later. But yeah, so first thing on our list here is, why is Git important? Well, when you have a lot of different people contributing to a project, you need some sort of way to basically control what the current version of it is, as in what's the code looks like exactly, what's the most cutting edge version of the code, regardless of it's like ready for a release somewhere. Like, I don't know, think about a game or anything. Like, Splatoon, there's a good example I could think of. Splatoon, for those of you who don't know, is a game for the Nintendo Switch, and it has a lot of patch releases, like a lot of other games. So, like, you start with 1.0 with the official release, and then, like, I don't know, 1.0.1, we fixed some bugs that broke the game or whatever, and 1.1 is here's an update with some new content or whatever, and so forth. So, kind of like that. However, those are like releases. GitHub will track individual not GitHub, my apologies, will track individual changes. So like in between that, oh, thank you Yash for another 100 bits, man. That's really appreciated. I hope you have a good day too. Um, so we'll see if that chain keeps up. But anyways, thank you again. Right, Git. In between those releases, you may have multiple changes. Like, for example, one developer, let's say between that 1.0 and 1.1 release, one developer may add a weapon. Another developer may add a stage or something. Like, those are things in Splatoon. Another couple developers may fix 5 or 6 bugs or whatever, or improve performance, all sorts of little changes. And even then, these changes may go in like, oh, hey, this is broken. We need to fix it before we release it. We did some testing before release, and this app showed up. And then they got to do that. There's all sorts of smaller changes between releases too. I keep saying GitHub. Will track each individual thing on what's known as a commit. And there's all sorts of other tools to help with this. In addition, it also makes sure that when code is added to your project, that it's up to date. So like I cannot make a change to a project on using Git such as Showdown unless what I'm trying to push from has all of the existing commits from the from where I'm going to. So for example, let's say Showdown doesn't really use versions as much really, but let's say the current version of Showdown, we'll just call it version, I don't know, 10.5 or whatever. I'm just making up a number. And I'm not saying like a release version. Let's just say let's just say commit like 10,000 or something because that's more realistic. But let's say I only have commit 9,990. I'm up to there. If I make a change and try to apply it to the place where all of this is stored, all of our code is compiled together, it will not let me do that because I'm 10 commits behind. So yeah, you have to be up to date. That's another thing GitHub does, or Git does. And the place where all this code goes, where everyone contributes together with Git, that's GitHub, at least in this specific case. There's other sites like you've heard of GitLab. I'm sure there's others as well. Git is not just something made by GitHub. But yeah, so all the developers contribute on there, and all the individual developers work on their individual things and use Git to move all their changes together. And there's all sorts of tools to help with that. So that's the basic description. You may not fully get it yet, that's okay. But does anyone have any questions before I start really diving into what Git is and how it works? And I apologize if I yawn at all today. I'm a bit tired. Okay, I'm going to take that as a no, because I don't see anything coming in anywheres. Alright, cool. Let's go ahead and start then. So, creating and cloning a GitHub repo. It's called a repo or repository. Pre wants me to make sure you know that, because otherwise he says he's going to get mad at me if you say it the way he doesn't want me to teach you guys. Before you can really work with Git, you kind of have to have, a repository to work with. A repository is basically the collection of all the commits and code that's specific that you're working with. So like Pokemon Showdown is a GitHub repository. You could say that any other open source project on GitHub is a repository. I've contributed to one game at one point that's its own repository, completely separate from Pokemon Showdown. None of them share any of the same commits, etc. So I'm going to teach you how to create one, and I'm going to teach you how to clone one from GitHub itself. So let's go ahead and do that. All this is done command line. So Git bash is useful for this because it has a few useful indicators. Of course, my thing likes to start at I don't know where. I don't know why it doesn't start right here, which is proper, but it does. So let's go ahead and cd to where we're going to go. PSJS class. And for this, I'm going to make a directory for this. I'm going to call it, just going to call it Git repo because it's an example. Alright, so this is our folder where we want to create our Git repo. First, I'm going to show how to create one locally from nothing. So first you need a folder. So I did make.dir git repo, which creates a folder in the directory you're in. You can also just manually do it on whatever GUI, graphic user interface you have. Whatever works, just cd into it, and then simply enough, it's git init. Git is the main control for that. So git init initialized empty Git repository in C users home and documents projects PSJS class git repo dot git. So Git is a folder that's hidden that you won't see and you won't need to work with really, but it contains your Git info. Another thing to notice here versus here. We now have master on the end. That tells us what branch we're on, which we'll get to in a little bit. So that's how you create a repo from nothing, but it's still, empty, like literally our directory is empty here. If you want to create your own, if you want to clone a repo, like let's say you want to get Showdown, you would use git clone, but you need some information to clone from. So to clone from Showdown or any other thing, you need the Git link for it. So for example, let's clone Showdown. You want to, on Showdown, or any Git repo, GitHub repository page, there's this green clone or download button. You'll want to click that and it creates this drop down, like use git or checkout with svn using the web URL. And it gives you this URL. Copy it, this button will do it for you. And then head back to your command line and git clone, feel free to then paste that in. So git clone that. That will clone you into a new folder created in the directory you're in. So it won't populate, like for me, it won't fill PSJS class with this. It'll create a new folder inside PSJS class with the contents of this, and it will name it Pokemon Showdown, and the same capitalization as the name of the repo. You can also give it your own name, like I usually call mine PSS. But in this case, yeah, we'll just call it PSS as well. So be sure to do your thing. If you want to name it your own name, just add the name of the folder you want to clone into after the Git URL. So for example, we're going to hit enter here, and it's going to say cloning into PSS, and then it's going to grab a bunch of data from GitHub, and it's going to take a while because it's cloning a pretty big project. So we'll wait on that. It'll actually probably take a little longer because I'm streaming. I usually don't run super intense things like this. I wonder how intense we're going right now. It's not super intense, but yeah. And that's not too bad. It's mostly just the Wi-Fi's bottlenecking it. Alright. Yep, and then it's got stuff. Gonna keep going there. And when it's done like that, you should have your thing. So cd pss, come on. And you're in. So master. And if you check dir, you'll see there's quite a bit there because it's actually a folder full of all sorts of things. So if we check into here, you'll see we have our entire copy of Showdown in here now with all its file. Meanwhile, Git repo is empty because we initialized an empty one. I'm not going to be working too much with Showdown today just because we're not quite ready for that yet. But yeah. So any questions on creating or cloning a Git repository? And when I say one, I don't mean creating one on GitHub, I mean creating one locally on your computer. We'll get to creating GitHub repos soon. Okay, let me check Discord, make sure there's no questions there. Okay, I'll take that as a no. Alright, let's see here. Next up, we're gonna look into making changes and committing changes with Git. So, obviously the whole point of doing something with Git is, committing it and contributing to some sort of open source repository. So what you can do with this is, so for example, I have this file GitHub.js. I was first going to put this here, but let's move this into Git repo. So let's say we're creating our Git repo now. We're going to edit this one rather than the Showdown one. So I don't know. Let's just do the Fizzbuzz test, which might show you guys later for those of you've already done your assignments from last time. But yeah, I'm gonna do regular Fizzbuzz rather than the one I made you guys. Is less than 100. Let's do from 1 to 100. If I is divisible by 3 and I is divisible by 5, the log, else is if I is divisible by 3, so dot log fizz, else if I is divisible by 5, log buzz, else console.log I. Okay, simple enough. Very simple program. I was sorry to hear that you might have to leave early, but thank you for showing up, Yash. This very simple program, I had you guys do this yesterday to show your expertise in for loops and if statements, logical operators, whatnot. See if you guys could figure that out. But a slightly modified version so you guys couldn't Google about it. So I'm gonna rename this actually just because I want to. I'm gonna call it fizzbuzz.js. So let's say you do whatever, you write your code, whatever it happens to be. So you probably want to test it and such too. And once you're done with that, excuse me, you'll want to, make your change. Say, okay, I'm done with my change. I want to push it out. So that's what commits are for. So there's a couple steps to committing. First, there's staging changes, and committing changes. By default, something you have can be three things. It can either be unstaged, staged, or committed. So to check the status of whatever you have out, you use the command git status. So for example, oh, I'm right in the wrong repo. Hold on. What's the name of my folder? All right, there we go. Let's try this again. So there we go. On branch master, no commits yet, untracked files. Use git add file to include in what will be committed. Fizzbuzz.js. Nothing added to commit but untracked files present. All right, so anything in red, at least on git bash like I'm using, if you're not using it, it'll say untracked files is unstaged. Then there's also a staged. There'll also be an area that'll say staged or something of the like. And it'll show up in green on git bash file names. Those are things that you have staged for commits. So to add a file to being, stage a file for a commit, because you need to stage your files before you could commit them, you use git add name of file. So git add fizzbuzz.js. So then you can check status again. Check status a lot. It's not a bad thing to do so. So for example, now it says on branch master, no commits yet. Changes to be committed. Those are things that are staged. And then it says git rm cached file to unstage. New file fizzbuzz.js. It would say modified if you've changed an existing file, but since we don't have any files to modify, it's obviously a new file. So this is currently staged, meaning it's set up to be sorry, I forgot what was my wording there. It means it's set up for the next commit. If you accidentally add something, do what it says, which would be git rm cached name of the file, so fizzbuzz.js. And again, it's back to unstaged, but I'm going to go ahead and add that back. So you now know the difference between those two. So if you want to check what your diff would be, your diff means what the difference between what what your head is. Actually, I need to explain head first. So in Git, the latest commit is called the head. So the head basically represents what your code base looks like at the latest version of your code base, the absolute most cutting edge. So a diff is the difference between a commit and the previous commit. And since it's unstaged here, it would be the difference between our stage changes and the head. So if I do git diff and then I use the flag cached, I do this a lot, I can check everything that's going to be committed here. And if there's more than a small amount like there is here, you'll be able to use your arrow keys to scroll up and down to look at it all. So like it'll say git diff a fizzbuzz.js, b fizzbuzz.js, new file mode, and all that info. So really you just need to know that this is fizzbuzz.js, and then it'll show all the stuff. Green with a plus indicates things that are being added, in other words, the whole file, and a red minus would indicate subtraction, and anything just in white is something that is there for context. Code closely around what you've changed so you have a context of what it is, but is not being modified between these commits. And yes, you could check a diff between multiple commits if you're wondering. I don't have that command on me, however. I'd have to research into that a bit. So we have our stuff. I like to check the diff before I commit and go, is that correct? And I'd go over and read and make sure, yeah, I declared my variable right, it's the correct amount of looping and so forth. I don't mind if there's a bug here, so I'm not going to look too closely. If there is, that would actually make it easier to show you guys something in a sec. So now we're going to commit. So we're going to turn our stage changes into a committed change. So to do that, we use the command git commit. Now, when we commit, there's a couple ways to do it. Normally, it's going to open whatever you have Git set up to use as an editor and ask you to input a message. By default, at least on Windows, that's Vim. Vim, I really don't suggest you use. It's confusing. Heck, every time I had to have Vim open, I had to Google up how to save and exit Vim because it's really unintuitive. When you install Git, it usually gives you multiple options based on what's on your computer, and it actually does support using VS Code as an editor. So if you install Git, I highly suggest selecting that option if possible. Otherwise, do what you can. If you can avoid it, you can use the M flag and then your commit message like this to just skip putting in a message manually and just do that. But I'm going to do it in VS Code to show you guys. So it's going to go ahead and bring this up. So as you guys can see now, we're in a file. So we're in git repo.git commit edit message, which is a file that's generated by Git for the purpose of editing. So please enter the commit message for your changes. Lines starting with a # will be ignored, and an empty message aborts the commit. On branch master, initial commit changes to be committed, new file fizzbuzz.js. So let's go ahead and give it a message. I'm going to call this initial commit. Whatever it is, you're supposed to be your description. So it's supposed to describe what's going on. So initial commit would be valid here because it's the first commit. And by default on GitHub, that's what you get if you create a repo there with data already. You could also be more descriptive. So some examples of, let's go grab some examples. Let's pull up PS and look at some of their commit messages, shall we? So a few things. Rework enabling Mafia to be more like other chat rooms, and the parentheses is a link to a pull request, which we'll get to soon. Add Italian and Portuguese translations of the new commands. Set preview users when properly merging. So all these describe what's going on. Like this one, we added some Italian and Portuguese translations for the new commands, and it's all listed in here. Like again, GitHub's going to show the diff nicely. Here's an example of the diff. The white areas are not unchanged. Red is a removal. Green is an addition, and so forth. And there's a ton of them. Add NFE format, improve hide replay privacy, etc. So you just need to basically describe what you're doing with your commit in 50 characters or less, really. So, and if you can also add additional text to your commit message, actually, let me pull one of those. So, like for example, that one just looks like it was merged too quickly. Here's one. This one has additional message. So previously, players were able to join battles as soon as they ended. So always enforce scouting setting. So that is done in your message. You can't do that with the M flag. You have to do it in an editor. So like it would, for example, here the title would be initial commit, and then the extra information, the extra longer description would be extra info. I don't need one here though, so I'm going to remove it. Blank lines are ignored, by the way, so don't worry about them. Except maybe in the description, right? Yeah, they're not ignored in the description. But yeah, so we're just going to say initial commit here. Save your file, of course. Don't forget to save your file. I know people have run into issues with saving files. And then with VS Code, you just close. So now it should be committed. And see, git commit hint waiting for your editor to close the file, which was VS Code. Master root commit and gives a short number, short part of the git hash. Initial commit, 1 file change, 13 insertions, create mode, Fizzbuzz.js. So it's created that. So now we have a commit. So if you check git status, it's not going to say changes committed or anything. On branch master, nothing to commit, working tree clean. Your changes are stored within that specific commit 0755F39. Obviously, we don't refer to commits out loud like that because it's hard to remember. You would usually refer to it by the name. So like if this was a project or something, and you were coming to me say, "Hey, Hohen here. I think there was a bug introduced in the initial commit and or whatever." You could see the log of commits as well with git log. So that's only going to show one thing right now. And here's the full commit hash as an example, way longer than the small bit we had. Head means it's the current head. Master, it's the head of the master branch. Author, you're going to get a name and an email. In this case, because I'm using GitHub, I have it set to hohencoder@users.noreply.github.com, so everything's set up properly, so my commits are connected to my account without actually showing my email to everywhere, and the date of the time and the description. Speaking of configuration for your name and email, before you can do your first commit, you will need to, with Git, you're going to need to set up your configuration. So git config, it will prompt you to use git config. So git config it's going to tell you to use git config global user.name and then your name in this basically. I'll type it out so you guys can see. Replace name with your name, and same thing for email. It'll ask you to do that, which will set those values. You can also see git, I typed config, didn't I? It's global. But yeah, I'll go ahead and show my config file because it doesn't have anything sensitive in it. Whoa, what did I do to my editor? Okay, hold on, I gotta reboot my terminal. I managed to hit a key I shouldn't have. Okay. Anyways, this is my config file. So, for example, my editor is set to my VS Code, name, email. It's all set up. So that's the config. You can manually edit these if you want. I'm gonna go ahead and close that, and let me go ahead and there it goes. Okay, let me CD back to where I need to be. I have to use an absolute path because this thing is not playing nice with me. Okay, there we go. So, does anyone have questions on committing changes with GitHub or Git? Anything at all you may be confused about, not understand, are curious about, or whatever. Okay. I don't see anything coming in. If you do have a question and you're typing it out, feel free to keep going and I will come back to you in a moment. Okay, good to know, Leaf. Alright, so next I'm going to talk a bit about branching. Hey Shads, welcome to the stream. I still need to set up Git for Visual Studio Code. Okay, so for that, let me bring up my config again. For that, you'll want to, like, at least for me, it uses an absolute path. So, like, when you open your config, if you do git config dash dash global dash dash edit as your arguments, you'll have this open up in probably Vim, but it's better not. You could also look for it because it will be in, the path appears to be C drive users your username .git config, which I'm pretty sure will again be a hidden file. So if you're looking in Windows Explorer, you'll have to show hidden files. Google that up. I'm pretty sure it's right click and then there will be an option for it somewhere. But yeah, set the editor to this, but make sure that actually exists first. So obviously replace Hoenn with your username and make sure it's all capitalized properly. So if your username has a space in it, should be okay since it's surrounded in, geez, what do you call them? Quotation marks. But yeah, so I'll go ahead and post this in chat for you guys so you can see it. And I'll replace Hoenn with just user. But so that's what you'll need to use for that, at least if you want to use this. So I'm going to close this. Any further questions? I'm happy to take them later if you run into them. Can you like direct how to get where to go to set up Git on Visual Studio? I know for you, you were having trouble with it because your installer didn't want to let you do it, but so it's still on the menu area, like how to set up Git, as in like set up this sidebar I have. If you mean that, that's not so much Git, but I could definitely show you guys how to do that. That's pretty useful. If not, I can. Everything really but sidebar. Alright, sure. Visual Studio, like, I'm not the most advanced person with Visual Studio. Like, I just have it set up with a workspace, which is what that sidebar is, so I can quickly switch between files that I have added. So, to set up a workspace, File, Add Folder to Workspace, and it'll prompt you to pick a file. So, like, I'm not going to add one because I have all I need added. Even if you don't have a workspace that'll work, it'll create a new untitled one. You can also file, save workspace as, and then save a workspace file somewhere which will contain all the info you need about it, and it will automatically update as you add and remove folders. So you'll want to add like the root of the project to it. So like the root of my PS.js class project is PS.js class, even though it has a Git repo inside of it. Normally you just add the root repo, and like I have my copy of Showdown I use for dev work in here. Showdown client and some other stuff too. Okay, so yeah, mainly meant where to go after opening VS. Well, that really depends on what you want to do with Visual Studio, you know? That sidebar should at least let you access the files that you're constantly using easier. But yeah, feel free to elaborate on that when you do get a chance. Alright, cool. How do we set up Git? It should be, if you have Git installed, it'll automatically do stuff. But if you mean use Visual Studio with Git, I did explain that with the Git config. So I'll show it again. go ahead and head to your command line, terminal, whatever, and type git config dash dash global dash dash edit. That will open your Git configuration file in whatever Git is currently set up to use. So it won't be Visual Studio if it's not set up for Visual Studio, unfortunately. It'll probably be Vim or something. I'd have to look up how to save and quit Vim again, but it's a quick Google of how to save and quit in Vim would give you the answer to that. I'll go ahead and open that and show what it looks like in Visual Studio because that's what I have set up. And you should have something like this. Core editor equal whatever it currently is, user equal, and then your email name. If you have your email name set up, you might not even have user if that stuff's not set up. I haven't looked at a git config file before that. Global means you're editing your settings for all your Git repos on your computer by default. If you're editing without the global flag, you'll only be editing that specific Git repo you're currently in. So make sure to use the global flag for this, unless you only want to use Visual Studio Code for one specific project or something, and Vim for everything else or whatever else you have selected. But yeah, once you get in there, editor will probably be something like a path to running Vim, and you'll want to change it so that it's Visual Studio Code. And I did post this link in chat. If you scroll up just a bit, I could post it again if you need it, of the sample path. But do actually navigate to that path on your on your computer to make sure that the code.exe file is actually there, because otherwise Git will not launch and you'll have to go manually find your git config file on your computer, which can be found at least on Windows, and C users your username .gitconfig. It'll be hidden again. Alright, so how do you access the JS files on VS? What do you mean like access the JS files? Are you trying to like double click a JS file in Windows Explorer? Because that won't work. If you mean that, you'll want to right click your JS file and hit open with and then select VS Code, or open with code if you selected to add that option to Windows Explorer when setting Git up, Visual Studio Code up. If you try to double click a JS file, it'll assume you want to run it and try to run it, and that generally doesn't work because they're not meant to be run standalone. Oh, that's easy enough. You just new file, and if you want to, you can also just do it in a repo. So like here, I'll do new file on whatever .js. End it with the .js file extension. That becomes a JS file. So it's really that simple. Just create a new file with a JS file extension and open it with Visual Studio. Or create one in Visual Studio in one of your folders on your sidebar. Or create a new one and save it with a .js extension in Visual Studio. However you want. It just needs that .js extension, and it is a JS file as a result. The welcome menu is its own tab like a file. You just need to close that if you don't want it up. It's got an X in the corner like all the other files. Alright, cool. So, I'm going to go ahead and close this now. If you need that again, let me know, and I'll send it to you. So, I think that's all the questions we have right now. Let me double check no one's posted somewhere else, and it doesn't look like it, so I'm going to assume we're okay here. Let me double check what were we heading into. Right, we were heading into Git. Oh, thank you for the bits, Yash. I really do appreciate that. So we're going to head into Git branches. So if you look at the top here, it says master. That's a branch. Excuse me. So your branch basically refers to what you're working on. You can have multiple different branches for long-term projects or short-term ones or whatever. Generally, you have one main branch for the project, like whatever's currently released, or your main development branch or whatever. For example, Showdown's setup is they have one branch that has things constantly pushed to it. So that's usually called master, and that's what Git defaults it to when creating. So think of that like a trunk of a tree. So your master branch is the main branch. Everything else is based off of master, the main branch. It could be called something different, but we're just going to call it master to be simple. Um, so from your master branch, you can have other branches come off of it. So the best way to really show this is a diagram. And there is a diagram I have here. So, for example, they simplified it by showing single letters for commits. So, for example, here D is a commit, E is a commit, etc. So, this is the master branch. Master has, so commit D, then commit E, F, and G. Master is currently on commit G. So, however, a branch is something that branches off a master and has its own code changes. So, for example, it may split off and have code changes, and multiple people contribute to it. So, like, for example, let's say you have a separate branch for, I don't know, implementing multi-battles on Showdown or whatever. That would be something that could warrant a branch because it's big enough. And have multiple developers sit down and work on that over an extended period of time. Obviously, since it's not in master, it can't go live. So, for example, topic in this case is what they called it. You could call it whatever you want. You can name your branches. Starts with commit A, so like they branched off from E. It's based off of E. It has E's code and back. And then it has A, which is its own commit, B, and C. It does not have F and G, though. This is unique to master right now. Does that make sense so far? Because I want to make sure you guys get this. Okay. Um, Eventually, you will merge your branch back into master, or at least that's the usual thing. So, for example, here, topic after hitting C is merged back into master in commit H. So master now has all the commits, has commits. Of course, D and E, both branches had that, but it also has commits F and G as well as H, which is A, B, and C combined. That's a normal Git merge. There's various different ways to merge on Git. You could merge the commits into it and just merge A, B, and C into it instead of putting them all into one commit, but that's at least the way we do it on Showdown, the way they're showing it here. So that's the idea of a branch. You have your separate workflow for things, and it's eventually merged back in. Sometimes branches are used as like a separate thing. So, for example, you might have your master branch, which is your main development branch or something, or well, actually, no. Let's say master branch is like using the Splatoon version example. Master branch is the release branch. Only releases are shown in there. So, like, let's say it's at 1.1, version 1.1, and then you have another branch called, I don't know, 1.2 or something, where people are constantly pushing code for the next release, and it's all being tested, bug fixed. People are talking about saying, oh, there's a regression here, or whatever it happens to be. And once it's ready, then they merge that into master, and master is now 1.2, version 1.2. So that's the idea of it, at least. And sometimes you even have permanent things, like some other some repos I've seen maintain versions of their software for different operating systems or whatever that have to be different, and so they'll have multiple branches for that that are permanent. They have all their code mainly done on one master branch, and then they pull those changes from that master branch into those other side branches, and those branches are never intended to actually be merged back in as well. They're there to hold those other changes, so they work with whatever they're supposed to work, like with Macs instead of Windows or whatever it happens to be. So that's the basic idea of a branch, at least. And of course, I will go into actually how to work with them, create, swap, delete, merge them. Any questions on that so far, other than working with them? Okay, I'll take that as a no. Once again, feel free to drop questions if you do actually still have them, and I'm just going too quickly. So creating, swapping branches, deleting branches, merging branches using, Git. So we're on a branch. Let's say we wanted to program something for our Fizzbuzz test. Now, in theory, since this is small enough, we could just do this on the master branch, but I want to use a branch as an example. So we're going to add a readme.md file for our Fizzbuzz repo, which is kind of nice to have for a repo, even though Fizzbuzz is really simple. But yeah, that's just an example here. So we're going to create a new branch. So the command to do that is called git checkout. This is the command to swap branches. It's also used for creating them. To view all your branches, you use git branch actually. So like right now we just have master. The one with the asterisk and this green is your current branch, and obviously we have no others. Those would be in white. So we're not looking at the code right now, Leaf. We're trying to look at the terminal. So yeah, like there's nothing in here right now. It's all just that same thing. Yeah. So git checkout is the command to swap branches, and it's also the one we use to create a new one. When you're creating one, you use the B flag. Otherwise, you just don't use the B flag. So we're going to create one called readme. So switch to a new branch readme. So, and if we wanted to swap back to master, we'd use git checkout master. And as you can see by the branches, we have master and readme. So let's head back to readme, git checkout readme. We've already created it, so we don't have to use the B flag. So as you can see, it says readme at the end there in blue. That indicates that we're on the readme branch, which is branched off from master. And git log will also indicate that head readme master. This is the head commit for the readme and the master branch. They're both identical right now. So what we'll want to do is, make changes. So let's go ahead and do something here. Let's new file readme.md, and we'll just say Fizzbuzz, can you code your way out of a wet paper bag? Because that's the joke that's made about it. It's simple. So I'm not going to bother writing some nice readme or whatever because I'm never going to publish this anyways. But that's how you do it. So yeah, cool. We have our code done. So again, we'd want to commit now. So git status, git add, name of file, git status again to double check it, git diff. Come on. And we can see our changes there. No new line at end of file. I should add that. Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. So another thing to note, in a file that's being tracked, you will be able, for example, to see colored lines to indicate where your changes are. This is a new change. That's a VS Code thing. It's nice. And if you make changes to a file, you'll see this. This might be confusing, so I'll point this out now. If you staged a file and then made changes to it, you'll see this. You have the same file both staged and unstaged. How's that happening, you might ask? It's pretty simple. You had staged changes and then you made more changes, and those new changes are not staged. So if you committed right now, we wouldn't have add that new file at the end of the line, which I added. But I do want that, so to fix that, git add readme.md. Hey Kraken, how's it going? Something broken? I'm not seeing any drops or anything, so I think we're okay. Everything seems okay on my end, so I'm going to assume you're just yelling at me. So yeah, we have this added. Nice job, Kraken. I'm glad to hear that. So we have our stuff staged now. Oh, right, you have to send those for approval. Alright, Um, we got our stuff added, changed, we checked it, etc. If there's tests to run, like with Showdown there are, you would want to do that here, but we don't for this. So we're going to go ahead and git commit, and I'm going to show you guys how to use the M tag this time. So git commit, add a readme file. So committed. So if we check our log now, you'll see two things. So it's fine, Kraken. I don't mind you hanging around and talking with me. So if you look at this log, you'll see a couple things. So head readme. That head refers to your current head on your current branch. So readme, that means this is the head of readme. And you see the master down on the previous commit. That tells you where the head of the master branch is. No, you. That means, so like with the example of here, wrong thing. Come on. There we go. So like with the example of this, like this was A, and we're here on our new branch as an example, and that's the previous commit. Obviously, we're not going to do as many as this diagram, but that's the idea at least. Also, Oreo pie or just pie not an option. Sorry, I didn't think of it at the time. I can't edit the poll without restarting it. So obviously we have those changes. So I don't know. Let's add another commit here just to give an example. Let's say let's add some text again. The Fizzbuzz, if I could type, test is a basic programming test that involves looping and if statements and checks if the programmer knows some extremely basic concepts found in all languages. There we go. So we added more text. Easy peasy. Let's go ahead and reopen our terminal if I did the wrong thing. Shh, thief. Come on. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and again git add readme. I'm not going to check status first. I know what's going on here. That's done. Git diff cached. And that looks right to me. Git commit. Add more text. Another commit done. Git log. Again, it's moved forward, so we have 3 commits on this branch. If we head back to master, git log, only 1 commit here. It's only on the other branch that it exists. So yeah, git log here has 3. So let's say, okay, we've gone through, we've done all our very tiring developing work. It involves me writing 3 sentences. Actually 2, but whatever. And we're ready to merge this into master. Obviously, I wouldn't normally use a branch for this. I'd normally just outright write the whole file and commit it at once on the master branch, but examples again. So to do a commit merge, you'll want to run git merge, name of the branch you want to merge, on the branch you want to merge into. So that would mean we need to do this on master. So we're going to check out the master branch. If I could type, that would help. So we're on the master branch, and we have git branch, 2 branches, readme. So we want to merge readme in. So that would be git merge readme. So doing that will merge readme into master. So updating between the 2 commits, fast forward readme.md plus 6 lines, 1 file change, 6 insertions. So git log. It all lines up now. We're on the master branch. Everything's up to date. So you still, however, have readme. If you still need readme, sure, you could keep it around. You could do further commits after merging into master and merge it into master again. Whatever you need to do. However, you may not want to keep a million branches around, especially something that's only kept for a short amount of time, such as a personal branch used to make a small fix on a public repo. I'm going to Control-Alt-Delete myself. No, come on. So to get rid of a branch, you'll use git branch dash d name of branch. Now, there's two differences here. Git branch dash lowercase d and git branch dash uppercase d. Uppercase d is basically I know what I'm doing. I want to delete this branch no matter what. Lowercase d makes sure you have merged this branch into the branch it was branched off from already. So in this case, it makes sure README is merged to the master. So this will work. But sometimes you don't want to merge branch into master. So one example of that is when you use GitHub to contribute to Showdown. I usually have a small branch. I'll explain how that works in a little bit. But basically, you use separate branches, and these branches aren't directly merged in because you have a separate repo. You cannot make changes to the direct repo. We'll get to that when we cover GitHub in a little bit. And when I'm done with these small branches, I don't need them I don't need patch 20 sitting around forever now that I'm done with it. So I just use force delete because all the changes are already in master and I'll get them into my master. However, the commit numbers are different, etc. So it won't recognize it. You'll have to manually delete it. In this case, we could just use lowercase d and gone. As you can see, we only have master now. Let's see, I believe that's everything to do with branching, creating, swapping, deleting, merging. Yep. Okay, so any question on branching? I'm going to take that as a no. All right, so next thing I want to show is stashing changes on GitHub. I know that's not in the exact order I have things written on my thing, but I want to do stashing now. So stashing is kind of like basically storing your changes. So let's say you're off doing a very a somewhat important change that will take a while or whatever because this sentence that's typoed is very important or whatever. And suddenly, oh look, the server went down or something. I gotta go fix this right now. But I don't want to lose all this incredibly hard work that I've done. Because this sentence took me like 5 hours to write or something. Um, so, oh man. So what you can do here is you could, in theory, commit it, but if it's not in a state that you want to commit your changes, like let's say you wanted to make this change on the master branch like I have it set up right now, and you just want to do this or whatever, but you need to swap for whatever reason. You don't want to commit your change right now. You can use what's called git stash. So git stash, quite simple. Run that. Saved working directory and index state work in progress on master, add more text. So git status, it's all gone. You look in the file, it's gone too. All your changes are now stashed, hidden. So to find out what's going on, you use git stash list, and you have a list of stashes with index numbers. So like this one's 0, it's all 0 indexed. Work in progress on master gives you the commit number. It's based off of the head that you are working on and the name of the commit message. So yeah. And so you'll have, and actually a correction on what I said about merging. All the commits are by default, all of the commits are just merged into master. Like I showed, we're not all squashed into one commit. On Showdown, we do squash everything into a single commit though. So you go off and you do whatever on your very critical fix that you couldn't have your other stuff up for. Maybe you have to swap branches, which it won't let you do if you have uncommitted stuff, as you'll lose work. Maybe you just needed to work here and needed that stuff not around because you had to fix something in the same file but didn't want to commit this new stuff. Whatever it is. So you're done with it, it's off, it's done, etc. You've updated your branches, etc., which I'll explain in a little bit when we get to GitHub. So when you're done with it, you do git stash pop. Now pop will do the last stash, so it'll do the most recent stash. In this case, we only have one, so it's fine. Otherwise, you can use index and then the number, like 0, to stash that's unstash that specific one. So git stash pop, we have these changes back, and they're here. Any questions on stashing? Okay, I'll take that as a no. So one other thing I want to go over here is I want to show how to discard changes in a file. So sometimes you are working on a change and you're doing something in a file and you're just like, everything I've done here is bad. I want to redo it in this new and better way. So I just want to wipe it all out. That can be annoying to just like go into the file and delete this whole monstrous 2 lines of text or whatever, but I'm not actually joking about this. The 2-line thing, yeah, it's a joke, but like it's often a lot more. So Git gives you a way to do that. Git checkout dash dash and then a space, make sure there's a space there, file to discard changes in the working directory. So git checkout dash dash readme.md and git status, nothing's there. Changes are gone, they're completely gone. It's been reset to head, that file. So all that massive amount of work or whatever that you wanted to get rid of is gone and quickly. So do be careful with using that, obviously, as you've just, if you wanted to keep any of that work, well, it's gone. Too bad. So yeah, there's that. Let me check what's next. In the meantime, if you do have a question, post it. Let's see, stashing, that's GitHub, that's GitHub. Yeah, all that's GitHub, so we'll hop into GitHub next. Anything else about local Git? There will be a couple more things, but we do need to get into GitHub before we can really work with those. So any further questions on what we've gone over? Okay, I'll take that as a no. Alright, let's get going then. So next up, GitHub, using that and such. So alright, this is the Pokemon Showdown GitHub repo as an example. And let me check my thing. Yeah, so we're going to go over creating and forking a GitHub repo, in other words, using the actual GitHub site, Git remotes, pushing and pulling changes from and to and from GitHub, issues on GitHub, pull requests on GitHub. So, yeah, so there's a repo on GitHub is basically your central point for your contributions, at least in the example. It could be GitLab or some other site or wherever the Git stuff is all stored. So, for example, this is where all the Showdown work goes when we got our changes coming in, issues, etc. So, all the developers put all their work into there and pull the existing version of Showdown from here. So, for example, we're going to, you can clone it. Like I said, I already showed you guys how to clone. Rather, there's forking and creating a new repo. Forking is when you fork your own copy of a repository to your account. By default, this is under whoever's account it is. So, for example, Zarl. This is Zarl's version of Showdown. Obviously, he's the main one. However, if you fork, you go to your own end. Now, obviously, I've already forked a while ago, so this is my version. So like HoEncoder Pokemon Showdown, this is HoEncoder's fork, me. Forked from Zara Pokemon Showdown, meaning it's a fork. I'm behind a bit, but whatever. Like you'd be up to date. It's Showdown again. It's an exact copy, and this copy, since it's yours, you can edit. There are control settings on GitHub to prevent people from just doing whatever, because it wouldn't be nice like if some random person who had knowledge of Git decided to trash the entire Showdown repository. That wouldn't be fun to clean up, especially if they use some commands that can really destroy Git history. So there's really three types of levels on here. Contributors is anyone who's contributed to the repository before. You could, or well, there's anyone, which is really anyone who's not contributed to the repository before. They don't have any sort of tag next to their name. So like I'll pull one of these open as an example, and I don't know why it shows that, but you have a badge next to your name sometimes. So like no badge means you've never contributed to the repo before. First time contributor badge means this is the first time you're contributing and it shows up in like a pull request, which we'll get to in a bit. Contributor means you previously contributed to the repository, and I don't know why it's showing first time here. It's definitely not their first time. It's probably because they're not contributing to the main branch, but that's fine. GitHub's being weird. Collaborator, which is the first actual step of permission changes. All the previous ones, if they want to make a change, have to make a change request called a pull request. More or less, they're requesting one of the collaborators or owners to pull code from their fork into the fork that they're maintaining. So, like right now, Torcat, aka LycaniumZ, is asking me to pull these changes into my fork of Showdown. A collaborator has permission to merge these changes in other words, pull the changes into the repo. And they also have permission to just directly commit to the repo without going through a pull request. Okay, this is getting a bit confusing. Fair. We'll just keep it simple and we'll get into pull and push and whatnot in a sec here, so sit tight on that. But the idea is collaborators have permission to write to the repository while the other ones do not. If you're not a collaborator on a repository, you're not the owner of the repository. You cannot just put any code you want on the repository. So like we've had people who want to troll before and literally just try to destroy all sorts of things. Well, that has to go through review first, and of course we catch and reject it. And feel free to clarify what you're confused about, what the fork thing. Okay, so a fork is like a version of the repo. So like everyone has their repo. So like Zara Pokemon Showdown. A fork on GitHub is a GitHub specific thing. Basically, you're making a copy of the repo. It's its own unique Git repo still, but it's based off of this one. So like if you don't have a fork and you hit fork, you get your own copy of it. And if you do, it just takes you there. So like this is my copy of it and I use it for contributing. You need a fork if you want to contribute to a repository you don't have collaborator or owner status of. And of course, you can't make a fork of something you already have a fork of or you're the owner of. Instead, just actually use your repo. It is a separate repo, so it's not changes that made on the main repo will not automatically be added to this one or anything like that. The repo you forked from, the parent repo, I suppose you could call it. Yes, assuming it's public. If you think you can make a private fork of a private repo, but most repos here are public. I'm not going to get into the difference between public and private repos right now, so yes. Forks are public. This is a GitHub specific thing. These are GitHub repos. So yes, it's public. And when you clone a repo, you're basically making a local copy of that repo. So, for example, when we cloned Zero Pokemon Showdown, we made a local copy of Zero Pokemon Showdown. Even though we can read from it. Everyone has read permissions. Hence why we were able to clone. We were reading data. But if we want to put changes on that repo, we can't do it unless you're a high enough rank. Like, I can write data to get Zero Pokemon Showdown. You cannot. This all can get a bit confusing, so let me know if you still don't get it. I will try to draw a little diagram if I need to. I will get my crappy painting skills and do this. Okay, I'm still gonna set up my thing in case I need to use my crappy painting skills here. Let's see here, properties. Okay, cool, that's ready just in case. I've got my I'll draw a really poorly drawn diagram to explain it if I must. But yeah, so actually I will do that just in case so anyone who is confused and watching this later gets it. So let me, where's my size? Good enough. Ah, wait, that's too low. Okay, so this is GitHub, and this is local. So the line divides GitHub and local. So that's the difference between them. GitHub obviously has their own servers and they store copies of all the stuff there, etc. And then there's various repos on GitHub. So like you might have a couple repos here. We'll draw 4 of them for this. And I'm not going to bother too much about it. So let's say this is Zarl, and then I'm just going to use PS to be short. So that's Zarl's PS GitHub repo, and local is your computer. So when you clone, when you fork, you're making your own GitHub copy of it. You are going to there. This is a fork. So that is now your PS, UPS. I'm just going to say that. So if I wanted to make a change, I'd have to do it on my fork, and how would someone know I want to update? We'll get to that in a sec. That's called a pull request, and we will get to that very soon, but we're a little ahead of ourselves if we touch that right now. But continuing with this diagram for anyone who doesn't get it later, because I'm sure I'm going to be asked. When you clone a repo, come on, that's the wrong way. Where's my down there? It goes to here, so like these are clones. I know that looks horrid, but whatever. Clone. So like this is your local copy of Pokemon Showdown. So obviously each of these are local copies. Yes, there's multiple of them, in case that's confusing. Each repo is its own thing, like I said, so you can integrate them together in some way. So for example, my setup would just forget that. That's annoying. I had to erase way too much. But yeah, so my repo is like set up like this, where you have your fork here, and this is Zarl PS, and this is my thing. So my repo's set up like this. There's a way to do that. So like the way I set it up, at least, and I would suggest you guys is you clone your own copy. So clone, and then this is your local PS. Your local PS. So your local copy of it. So you've cloned it. So what you can do with that is what I have it set up to is I have it set up to do a few things. So I'm going to briefly go over this, and though those aren't important pings, or at least, come on. You can pull changes, which we'll get to in a bit. Basically, it means pull update from. So like pull from XARLPS, update from there. And since and this is yours, you can also push update to. In other words, send changes to. So like, assume that's your local repo again. So like, I cloned from here, I pulled from. Clone, you can also pull from here if you want. So you clone from here, you get your local repo. From your local repo, you can pull updates from the parent repo and from your repo, whichever. And then a regular person can only push to their own repo. Then they use what's called to get changes over here, they use a pull request. So, for example, they would request that XARLPS pulls changes from your PS fork. That's the idea of it, at least. And for collaborators, there is, of course, this, which is push collaborator only. And I'm going to shrink this a bit. So, like, only those that have the permission to do that can push to XARLPS. But that's the idea there. You can pull from either, push to either if you have the permission to. You have permission on your own since you're owner, but not necessarily the other one. And the fork to create that, pull request to make that. You would have to use your local copy to update. So I hope that clarifies any confusion anyone may be happening about this. And I apologize for any crappy graphics, but this turned out better than I honestly expected for a graphic. At some point, can you demonstrate each of those in the order you explained? I absolutely will and plan to, or in some lesson at some point. I think that cleared up with a lot of visualizing. Yes, I plan to absolutely do that today, and that's what we're about to get into here. So I will reference this diagram at times, but let's make it go invisible for now and get started with that. So first things first, we're gonna, so like fork. So like I said, you hit the fork button, you create a fork. So you now have that first part of your fork. You have XARLPS and UPS. So let's assume you don't have a cloned copy yet. So we already taught how to clone. So we use that command, git clone, and then your repo copy. You could also clone the main one. You could clone from either, actually. It doesn't matter. So the next step is connecting the other repo to your local one, which you can do for read-write purposes. Of course, you can only write if you have permission, like I said. So in this case, we have our local PS copy. I'm still looking at the diagram on purpose, by the way. We have our local copy, and it's cloned from here. So instead of what we normally do, no, whatever, I can't move that. Instead of cloning from here, we clone from here. We clone from XARLPS to here, and we have this. So we need to do what's called adding a remote. By default, whatever you clone from, you have a remote from. So we have a remote that identifies the connection between here. The Git link, basically. A remote is basically a shorthand version of what you were in. So like for example, let's head back to PSS. So git remote v lists all your remotes. So for example, by default it comes with a remote called origin, and it points to the repo you clone from. So origin https github.com/xarl Pokemon Showdown.git and fetch and push. We'll get into that a little later. That is the repo you're connected to. So we need one for our other one. We need one for our fork. And if you clone from your fork, you need one from the parent. So first we need to go get that. So to do that, we go ahead and head off to the one we need. In this case, we need the fork. If you need the parent, you go to the parent page and do it from there. So like you'd get it here, but we need the fork. So we're gonna do that, copy it just like we did when we cloned. And if this would go, there we go. And then we use git remote add, and then the name of it you want. So normally I have my thing set up in the way of origin Zerl just because that's easy for me, but you can call it whatever you want. So like origin in this case will refer to Zerl's branch. And I'm going to name this one Hoenn, and then the name of it. So like Hoenn, that's easy enough for me to remember. That means it's mine. You could call it local whatever, the link. So git remote add Hoenn. So git remote v. Now we have another one called Hoenn with that link. You don't necessarily need to use a remote, but if you're going to constantly push and pull or whatever with that repo, it's nice to have a shorthand for it instead of having to type out or copy the entire Git URL every time. That's basically what it is. So basically origin refers to this link and Hoenn refers to this link. It's that simple. So any questions on remotes? Okay, I'll take that as a no, but once again, if you do have a question, feel free to type it in and I will get to it as soon as I see it. Okay, there's one. So if you made a change, would it push to both? When you make a change, you have to specify when to push and where to push to. We'll get to pushing in a little bit. And pulling. So we now have our links. So going back to our amazing diagram, we now have this link. So we have our link between this and this and this and this. We have an easy link to do it. We have our shorthand connection. It's not actually like a Piper connection that's permanent or whatever. You have to specify when to do it. It's just basically I say a link because it's easier than having to type the URL every time. It's a shorthand. So great, we have the stuff set up. So now what do we do with it? Well, normally you want to make your changes. So there's two things you can do here, pull and push, like I've said. So pulling is what we'll show first. What do you think you're doing, dog? Ugh. Pulling is the idea of pulling changes from one repo to another. So like down to there or whatever. So let's go ahead and show that. So in our thing, if we want to pull a change, so we're on master and we're probably up to date because I highly doubt anyone's made a change on PS since I cloned it like I don't know, an hour ago at most. But we'll show the command anyways. The command is git pull remote branch. So remote and branch you need to replace with things. So remote is either the name of the remote you want to pull from or the git link to pull from. Like I said, the remote is a shorthand for a git link. It's basically an alias. So we're going to do origin, Zerl's repo. We're going to pull from there, read. And then you need the name of the branch you want to read from. They have a lot of different branches there, various, some of them that's been sitting forever or whatever, but yeah. We're going to pull from master. We're going to do an update on our master branch. What I highly suggest you do with anything you're contributing to is you keep your master branch clean unless you're a collaborator on the area you're contributing to and you're just going to commit and directly push to master. So for you guys, that would mean do not make your changes on master branches. Use side branches based off of master to do that. I showed you guys how to make a branch already and how to work with those, etc. And we'll make an example, and I won't make a pull request, but I'll show one I have open. We'll go all the way up to the step of actually creating it. So we're going to try to pull. And so it's going to do that, and actually there have been some changes. Interesting. It looks like the TypeScript chat.js pull request was merged earlier. So there were some changes. So we are now up to date with Zeryl's master branch. So that pulled the changes, and git log should confirm that. Yep, TypeScript chat. When we first started, this was the most recent, but now this is the most recent. So now we're up to date. So you don't necessarily have to keep your local end of it up to date, your local repo, because only the side branches will matter too much. But I am going to show how to do that. Hey VigVig, welcome to the stream. So pushing. Pushing is a write action. Like I said, that is restricted. You must have write permission on the GitHub repository you want to push to. I have write permissions on both, but we're going to do this from your perspective, so we do not have permission to push to the parent fork. Now, this could be for any organization. It doesn't have to be Showdown. It could be some game you saw was cool and like, this is a cool JavaScript game. I want to contribute to it because I found XYZ bug while playing and I want to fix it and make the game better or whatever. So you don't have write access on the main branch. Instead, if you want to make a change, you have to push to your own branch. So the syntax for a push is git push, again, remote, and then a branch. So in this case, Hoenn is the name of the branch we can push to our copy. If you look in our amazing diagram again, this is where we're going to. So like Hoenn points to here. If we wanted to push to here, well, we can't. We don't have write access. So yeah, up to here. It'll put our changes over here. So git push Hoenn and then branch. So we're going to do an update to master. We're just going to update our master branch. It's something I haven't done in like a month, so it's going to push like 100 commits there. So we're going to push. So git push Hoenn master. There it goes, off it goes, and it should be up to date. So I will go ahead and show you guys that. So if you look here, this branch is 133 commits behind Zeryl master, behind the master branch. So if I refresh the page, this branch is even with Zeryl master. It's 100% up to date now. We made our changes go to GitHub. So that's the idea here. So that's the basic idea, at least, for pushing and pulling. I will go into pull requests next, so no questions about that quite yet. But does anyone have any questions on how to push or pull to or from a GitHub repo? I will check these annoying alerts I have sitting around while I wait. Okay, I have a thing to do tomorrow. All right, cool. I'm going to take that as no questions and continue on. All right, I can get rid of this actually. All right, cool. So we have this and all. That's cool, but let's show how to make a pull request. So like I said, you'll want to make your own branch. So we're going to branch off here. We're going to do git branch new git checkout. Actually, I almost did the wrong command. B and I don't know. We'll call it patch. What do I have available? I'm just being simple here. I'm just going to actually call it example. So we have our new branch or whatever, and I'm going to make some just whatever change here. We'll edit the README file. This is an example change. We're not actually going to pull request this as a result. So yeah, don't worry about the code. We're not here to look at the code, and that's why I didn't even bother to move the code editor. So I just made a small change to that. So like with committing, you check, git add your files you want to edit. So we made a change to readme.md, git status, and the diff check. Some repos may have an npm test. If you're doing a JavaScript thing, you'll want to run that to validate stuff. Right, and I haven't installed stuff, so I'm not even going to bother here. But npm test first, and if you're actually doing stuff, you'll want to test your changes first and whatnot. That would be, to do that, you would need to use npm install first, but we'll get into that tomorrow. So whatever, I'm going to forget the NPM stuff, doesn't matter right now. We have our stuff, git commit, I'm going to use the M tag again, example commit. So this is our example here. So to push it, we're going to push it to the example branch. So git push hoen, and I'm going to double check my remote here because I don't want to accidentally push this to Zarl. Git push, yes, it's hoen example. Because the last thing I want to do is notify people on Showdown I'm making changes to the repo when I'm trying to do an example. Alright, git push hoen example. So off it goes. It's going to go to my repo, our fork, and it's going to be a new branch, so like it said. And it's even going to give you info. Create a pull request, for example, on GitHub by visiting blah, 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 blah. So we've pushed up to our repo. Now we're going to show you how you make a pull request, get it into Zarl PS as an example. So I'm going to close this out, and we're going to head back to GitHub. So yeah, it's going to give you this option, but we're going to shortcut to it, but we're just going to hit new pull request. So on your fork or on the fork you want to push to Zarl's, hit new pull request. So compare to choose two branches, see what's changed, or start a new pull request. If you need to, you can also compare across forks. If it only shows base compare and it's not doesn't show base repository, head repository, click this link to make these show up. By default, since we did it on our fork, our thing shows up, and it'll show all these and like literally every other fork that exists, which there's a number of them. Top one being Zarl, so like I'll show you what it looks like if it's just these two. You could merge things together, but we're going to compare across forks, and we're going to use yours should be the second one regardless. So we're going to do here. Base is the one you want to merge into. The changes, like the arrow says, go into this. So base should be the repository you're trying to put the changes into. Head should be yours. Base should be the branch you want to put things into. For PS, we put things into master unless otherwise specified. 99% of the time you're going to be moving to master, which is correct. Compare is the branch you want to make changes from. So in this case, we put our changes on example. So we select compare example. Page will refresh, and this comes up. So commits, say when, name of it, tag, who did it, all this information. So to start setting up for that, you hit create pull request, and it's going to have information. So this is the title of your pull request, and this is all the stuff you'll have here. And then write, you'll like a description. This is the description of the pull request. And then you normally can't set these. I can because I'm a collaborator. And then you do these. When creating, there's two options. You can create a pull request, meaning you'll just create it like normal, and create a draft, which means it can't be merged. It's there if you're just creating a draft and you want feedback or something from it. Allow edits from maintainers. I highly suggest you enable this. This gives those who have collaborator or higher access on the repo you're contributing to write access on the branch of your repository that your pull request is from. So if they want to make a small change or whatever and help you out, they can. I highly suggest you leave that enabled. After all, everyone's here to collaborate, and if they're being a jerk about it or whatever, why are you contributing to them? But yeah, I'm not going to, and then you hit create pull request. I'm not going to click that because I don't want to actually make a pull request and notify the entire development team for no reason whatsoever. That makes no sense and get a million questions. Instead, I'm going to show you one I already have. So like you see here, we're actually on Zarl Pokemon Showdown for this. I will show you a pull request I already have open. Let me author me. So it would look something like this. You would have, so here, your title's up here, then the pull request identifier, the number. All pull requests and issues each have a unique number. So no pull request or issue of the same number. They like nothing, no issue will have number 5574. No other pull request will either. So you can refer to it using that on GitHub. So then you have your description. So like this pull request adds support for logging statistics about help tickets, etc., so forth. This is your pull request. So open is the status. Then the person who wants to do it wants to merge one commit into Zaro master from Ho encoder ticket stats, which is the branch where I have my code on. So yeah, and it'll tell you about it. It'll tell you the rank. Collaborator has been invited to make changes, etc. Then there's the conversation. So people talk about things, they make reviews, whatnot. We'll get in more into that today, or is it tomorrow? Let me double check that. I'm pretty sure. Learning about an existing project code review, communicating with project developers. We'll go over the basic ideas of the entire thing at least. So yeah, communication. During this process of a pull request, your code will be reviewed by multiple people. Sometimes these people will be developers, sometimes they won't. For example, contributor. User has previously committed to the Pokemon Showdown repository, but they don't have write access. Collaborator has been invited to collaborate. Owner, they're the owner of the repository, etc. So people will leave comments and reviews. So like this is a comment, someone posts a message about it, and there's your usual like a few reactions you can have from Discord, like Discord, but a smaller number. Um, and yeah, so people will talk about it. Reviews can be done from the files change tab. So there's 4 tabs here. Commits, which shows the commits that are there. Checks, some things have checks implemented, like we have Travis CI, which runs npm test and it checks if that passes. Hence why I said run npm test if you're doing Showdown. Then files changed. Shows you what files are changed in your code. So like this is all the stuff that I changed and yada yada yada. A reviewer would go through and say, I want to make a comment, and they can make comments online. So like a reviewer would look through your code and just go, this, I don't know, and they'd write a comment. This is an example. I'm not going to submit it. And add a single comment would add a comment right away that people could see. Start a review would start setting up a review. So like this. Reviewers would go through, add a bunch of different comments on lines about things, saying like, why is this file like this? This would be a better way to do it. What's your thought process behind this? Do you think this would be better? Whatever it happens to be. I'm not going to go into detail on it. We're not here to teach you guys about this pull request or about every possible thing that could happen in a conversation with a human. But yeah, at the end they'll comment, approve. I can't approve or request changes on my own, but yeah. It's not really on Showdown. At least we don't use these too much. We mostly just comment. I'm going to discard this change. They'd submit it and it would show up. I'm going to delete that because it's an example again. And it would show up something like this. So for example, Shibo reviewed on July 2nd. And it would be all these separated with semicolon. No, ditto above still uses CSV unless you make something else. Yeah. These you can reply to, like reply will allow me to type a reply just like anywhere else. And these are all outdated and resolved because they're handled. But yeah. So continues forward. We do a lot of conversation and whatnot, and eventually we get somewhere. So at the bottom is the merge options. These are only shown to people with write access to the repository. In other words, collaborators and owners, such the collaborator here. So it'll show any checks. If there's checks, it'll show information about checks. It might say all checks failing, some checks failed, all checks passed, whatever. And then you can click for more details on those. So tests, basically, test scripts. Conflicts. Those are fun in Git. More or less, a conflict occurs when GitHub's attempting to check if it's possible to merge your branch with the branch you're trying to merge to. So it's trying to check if it can merge Ho encoder ticket stats into Zaro master. And sometimes Git's a computer like anything else. Sometimes it just doesn't know how to properly merge changes together without potentially losing data, losing code, screwing something up, and it really doesn't want to do that, guys, obviously. So at that point, that's what's called a merge conflict. It asks for human help to fix it. So with a merge conflict, I can't show you that right now. I don't have it set up, unfortunately. But the idea would be that it would say there's conflicts with the base branches and they have to be resolved. Yes, there's a GitHub editor to restore those, but I highly suggest doing them locally. Um, to do it locally, the idea would be you'd run the command, if I could get back to my line, there it is. You'd run git pull rebase the parent fork, so origin, and then what you want to pull from, so master, the thing we're doing. So basically this pulls in. The rebase flag means replay your work on top of this. So you'd do that and you'd run into conflicts. Now there are some weird situations that are otherwise, but this is in general. In general, this works for me. Um, Eventually, it would, as it's doing this, it would say conflict and it would stop in the middle of it. When that happens, you'll need to go to the files it mentions are conflicted. And inside, you will see something along the lines of, I don't know, let's do this. It would be like da 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 head and then something and then no, don't do that. Come on. And then some commit, and then commit code. Um, so this is the idea of what it kind of looks like. So more or less, what this means is you have two changes here. It can't tell how to merge these lines. Both these, one commit in the branch you're pulling from changed this line, and another in yours also changed it. So it's like, I don't know which to pick. Let a human pick for me, because a human will be able to think through and figure out which won't completely break everything, which is the proper one, etc. So over here, you would have to pick what to do. So for example, in this case, like I could do something, I could do else, I could combine it into something new. All I need to do is basically delete this whole thing and replace it with what I want to keep with. Or I could just, like, let's say I wanted to keep something, I just delete this and the head thing, keep else, etc. If I want to write something new and combine them together, maybe I want to do something else, I might do something like this. However you want to do it, just get rid of that and rewrite it as appropriate. I'm just going to get rid of it completely because it is, once again, an example. That's a little complicated. If you do run into a Git conflict, I wish I could show them an exact one here. I just don't have a good way to set one up. Feel free to contact, like if you're working on Showdown, feel free to ask any dev and we will help you if you don't know what to do. Everyone's new at some point and we're glad you're helping to contribute, so we're glad to help you with that. So yeah, once you fix it, you would run, I believe, git rebase dash dash continue. The git command line will tell you what to do, and it will continue from there until it hits the next conflict, if any, or until it's done. And then at that point you would, so after you do a pull rebase or something like that, you need to update your repo branch again. So let's say we had a pull here. We need to update our changes. However, what you just did is you rewrote history, kind of. You didn't make George Washington lose or something, but you did rewrite the Git history on your repo because the commit hashes for the commits you made changed. So if you try to just do git push Hoenn example, you'll get an error saying rejected, you're not up to date with the branch you're pushing to. What you need to do in that case is you need to add a dangerous flag called force. Be very careful when using force. Force will say, I get I'm not exactly up to date, but I want that remote branch to look like this branch, even if it means I potentially lose work. So do not use force unless you need to. And if you're unsure if it's appropriate, feel free to ask. In a case of a rebase, you do need it, hence why the force flag is there. So that involves conflicts, and that's almost everything on our Git thing. So when being merged, there's a couple options. On this thing, we use squash merge. The description of it states the one or usually sometimes more commits from this branch will be added to the base branch. In other words, all these are squashed into one commit, such as this TypeScript chat, the number. It's all merged together, and yeah, it's one commit on the base branch, which changes the hash. Hence why you cannot, hence why you have to use D to delete your branch when you're done with it, the capital D, because the squash merge changes the hash again, and it doesn't recognize it as properly merged even if you update your local branch with the copy from 0. So let's say this gets merged. Woo. Let's go find one that is merged. We'll just go over to the most recently merged one. It would look more like this when it's merged. So like merged, 0 merged 7 commits into ZaroMaster from Whalmer TSC. And like, yeah, cool, this is definitely mergeable. Merge commit whatever into ZaroMaster 1 hour ago to one check match pass. So done. That's all done. So at that point, you're done. You can delete your cleanup, which I'll show you how to do in a sec. Your changes are there. You can pull your changes in from ZaroMaster to your master branch, and your changes will now be there. So you successfully wrong thing. Successfully moved your changes from here to here with review. Someone with push like me can just do this, but most can't. So any questions on pull request? That was a bit of a talk, but are there any questions on that? Let me double check that there's nothing over here. Okay, I'm going to assume there's nothing, but I know there's a bit of latency here between me talking and it hitting the stream. So again, post your question even if I am still talking here about other things. So yeah, that's the idea of pushing, pulling on GitHub. Let's see, I've gone over creating, forking, pushing, pulling, stashing, issue. I've gone PRs, issues. Okay, so, and right, I'll also show you how to clean up after yourself. So you finished with example, great. Okay, cool. How do we clean up after ourselves now that we're done with it? So firstly, you'll want to delete the local branch. So you're going to have to get off the local branch first. You can't delete a branch you're on, so let's go back to master. You'd probably want to update your master with a git pull, whatever the remote of the branch you merged into, got your pull request merged into is, whatever your parent remote is, master. And then you use git branch, and you have to use capital D, because if you use lowercase like this, error, the branch example is not fully merged. If you're sure you want to delete it, you run git branch capital D example. Yeah, dash capital D. So we're going to do that. We get rid of example. Gone. So I'm pretty sure the command, let me double check. Neat. Now we're going to show how to delete the remote branch. The remote branch is the one on GitHub. So to do that, it's pretty simple. You use git push delete, then the name of it. So Hoenn example. I'm pretty sure, let me double check my syntax. Yes, so git push delete the name of the remote and then the branch you want to delete. This will delete it on GitHub. So push delete Hoenn example. It's gone, deleted. So for example, we go back over to here and we go to my fork, and I try to look for example. There's a lot of things, but example is not one of them. It's gone. So any questions on that before I go into our last topic of the day? Oh, and how to create your own Git repo too. That'll take like 3 seconds though. It's pretty simple. Okay, I'm going to take that as a no. So last 2 topics for the day. Issues. We're going to use zeros for this. Issues are basically it's an issue tracker basically. Users, GitHub users can report various issues on here for whatever repository. Now, every repository is going to use them differently, but it's pretty simple. New issue allows you to create a new issue where you type in information about whatever it is. an existing issue, just like a pull request has its own ID, which is unique from all other issues and pull requests. And like you have a description, we probably don't need to lie about the existence of battle rooms, cause the client to get the corresponding data needlessly and fail with confusing message. Mod joins battle, send no init non-existent client shows battle expired. And yeah, they're either open or closed. A closed issue does not show on the list of open issues, obviously, and the closed one, open one does. Um, and it's a discussion, basically. They talk about it, etc. Someone may eventually make a pull request to fix it. It may be decided this is intended or whatever. It's pretty simple. It doesn't involve any code changes whatsoever. It's more of a discussion about things. So that's pretty simple. Now, the last thing I'm going to do is teach you how to make a repository. So, upper right-hand corner of your GitHub is going to have various things. So, new repository, import repository, new GIST, new organization. So, I'll show you new and import. So new will take you to this page. So owner, you can select another organization or whatever if you're part of one, but organizations are not something we're going to talk about right now. You'll need a name for it and give it a name like Pokemon Showdown is the name of one. Other ones you could call it, I don't know, whatever you want to. A description optional. Public versus private. Most open source is public for obvious reasons. Private is not. There's various restrictions if you do a private repo, like you can only have 3 collaborators, and there's various, like you can't implement Travis CI on a private one or whatever. You can also initialize it with a README file. GitHub's nice with that. Let you clone if you're setting up based on GitHub and then cloning to your computer. If you want to set up on your local computer like we did with the other one, don't do that. Also, don't select any of these. These, you have to check that box and you can add a git ignore for whatever. Git ignore basically means what files Git is going to ignore. So like locally here, our git ignore ignores a lot of things in the Showdown repo. I'm going to close this extra README. So for example, git ignore ignores all the files in the configuration file that are not forcibly added. So like for example, I'm not going to show this one, I'm going to show this one. For example, this should turn more gray, but like config.js, this is the configuration file. It's not committed to the repo. It's a local file that exists for you to locally edit and make changes to your server. Punishments.tsv, a data file. Tickets.json, also a data file. Anything in logs except like readme, a data file, not to actually be committed. So git ignore tells it what things to ignore. License, like there's some things like MIT is what PS uses, and MIT is basically you can do whatever the heck you want, but you're not liable if you do something stupid. You're responsible for your own actions. Open source repos are like that. And then you hit create to create one. I already have a project repository elsewhere, import. I'm pretty sure this means, actually no, this means import from not GitHub. So never mind, I thought this meant import. So if you wanted to import from local, like let's say you have it set up locally, well you'd use new. You'd name it, etc. So I'm going to actually set up a test repo here to show you guys, because this is actually going to be your assignment, which is pretty simple. I'm going to set up a new thing. I'm not going to use git repo here. I'm going to use a new folder, and we're going to call this class. I'm going to call it class assignments assignment solutions. But yeah, so we're going to call it that, and inside of here I'm going to move, actually, why did I do that? To delete. Yes, I'm going to rename this instead. Class assignment JS class assignments, sure. Okay, so it's renamed. So this contains all of my solutions for all of these. Come on, don't do that to me. That's annoying. But yeah, so these kind of things, did I do one right? We'd had a day 3 assignment. Right, they're already in there. That's why I'm missing it. There's no assignment for day 1. I'll put the day 4 solution. The day 4 solution doesn't have a file, but So the idea here is so the assignment, I will read that off actually now so you guys get it. It's really like a 2-line thing. Literally. This assignment is simple. I want you to take all the assignments you've previously done and use Git to place them in a repository you create on GitHub. Link me the repo when you're done. So I'm going to walk you guys through this, literally. So I'm going to call this JS class solutions. And I'm going to rename my local file to match that. Because I want it to match. That's just my taste. I'm going to call it solutions, actually. Shorter, it's easier to CD to whatever. Like I said, you can have a different name. So solutions for the assignments I give students in my JavaScript class are placed here. The repo itself, if I could type, is the solution to day 4's assignment. And I'm going to double check my spelling here, yada yada. All this is going to be public. So I'm going to leave it public so you guys can look at all this later. I'm not going to initialize with a README or anything. Honestly, I'm kind of tempted to like add a git ignore and whatever, but I have this locally, so I'm going to show the other way since I already explained how you would pull. We're going to explain how to set up to push, so we're just going to create one. So yeah, new one, HomeEncoder.js class solution. So yeah, it's empty or import from an existing repository, push from the command line, etc. So you want to copy the link, which is here. Ignore desktop and whatnot. So yeah, so we come down here and we're going to go ahead and head on to our repo. We're going to cd back solutions and we're going to git init, make a new repo, git init. So we're on master, git remote. I don't think we have any remotes because we initted, yep, none. Git remote add. Hey, we got a raid! Hey, Anthony writes code. Thank you for the raid. 29 people. Wow, that's huge. Welcome, guys. Welcome. Yeah, I'm actually teaching. My favorite Pokemon's Ludicolo. I would hope that be obvious. I like Mudkip too. That was actually the first Pokemon I ever had. But welcome to the stream, guys. Welcome. I'm Hoenn Hero, and I'm a developer for Pokemon Showdown. That's a competitive Pokemon battling simulator. It's why he plays Mirror B theme. Let's turn that on. Yeah, let's go. Let's Mirror B theme. Come on. Where's my thing? Unmute and list, and let's play Mirror B. I think that should be good. Yep, okay, cool. Let me know if that's too loud or something. I'm a developer for Pokemon Showdown, global leader on the site. I contribute to the development, and I also contribute to the policy. Sorry, I disagree. 32 people, wow. Yeah. You knew some of them? Feel free to tell me about them. I'm relatively new. I've been here for 2-3 years now. And this is my Twitch channel, and I program for Showdown here usually. I got into it because a lot of people on Showdown wanted to understand better how development works. Like, they were confused about it if they tried to contribute, or they just didn't understand the process of developing Showdown in general, and wanted to understand why things were done this way. It's a pleasure to meet all of you. I'm glad you're all here. So I started my channel as that. Mostly before this, I've done a lot of work on an update for the Super Staff Bros Brawl format, which is going to go live soon. We're actually getting ready to do a play test. Considered using Nano. I use Nano a bit, but I'm just using the Git Bash terminal and VS Code. Okay. This is a spam bot. You are getting timed out. Where is my button? Anyways, bye. Okay, there we go. Cool. So I cleaned that up. Sorry, guys. So continuing, yeah, I've used Nano, but I'll try it in a little bit. But currently, what I'm doing, I'm actually doing a class for JavaScript and Showdown. So a lot of people have wondered how could I get involved in such. So I've decided to start this class for absolute beginners, no prior experience whatsoever with JavaScript, programming, anything. So that's who I'm catering to with this class, and this is the 4th day. First day we went over absolute basics of programming in general and computers. Well, maybe not that far, but I hope you guys know how to use a mouse and install things. Day 2, we did basic data types in JavaScript. Day 3, we did conditionals and loops. And Day 4, we're getting into Git and Github. Yes, I know my terminal choice is probably not the best, but yeah. Thank you for the follow, Drawn to Code. Do you know that a bill that works on Showdown Ho and Hero? What do you mean by a bill? And so yeah, this is day 4 of it. All the prior videos for this can be... Oh, his name is Bill. No, I don't, but let me pull his info to take a look. And if you guys are trying to PM me, I have my PMs blocked on Showdown right now. Account disabled, abandoned 2013. Jeez, he's old. Okay, I don't know him, unfortunately. I started PS in mid-2014, but didn't really know anyone then. I really started deving right when Sun Moon came out. I contributed to the development of Gen 7. That's where I got my start, and I've been going ever since. And I plan to do, honestly, I plan to do some massive, oh, yeah, there's a lot of bills IRL. You'd have to be Showdown name. If you whisper it to me or something, I could tell you if I know them. And that's about it. Thank you for the follow, Robit Wizard. I've been contributing ever since, and I do plan to actually do like a massive stream when Gen 8 comes out, like all day programming Gen 8 with all the other devs. That'll be really cool, honestly. Oh, B-Melts, yeah. I don't know him, unfortunately. He was after my time. He started programming things in the beginning, and yeah, it's not. You can post that. That's public info, just like my stuff's public info and on there. I unfortunately don't know him. I talk to all the active admins though, like I know Zarl, Bumba, etc. Pre's done a lot. So yeah, I'm happy to take any questions about Showdown or whatever that you guys have. I am, however, going to continue to teach for a sec because I'm just about to finish this section and I don't want to get too far off track. So I was on how to set up this remote, I think. Yeah, so I was gonna get remote, add origin, paste, and that should give us our remote, and we can then push. So git status, we have a bunch of untracked things. Git add period will add everything that's untracked, so be careful with that. That's a wild card. And obviously git diff, I always do my cache check to make sure I'm doing things right, and there's some extra spaces there, but I don't mind too much. I'm not going to be too picky here. But yeah, this will be all the solutions, and we're going to go ahead and push to, let me double check my status here. We're okay. Git push origin master, so we're going to update our branch here, and yes, I am doing that properly. Right, failed to push master does not match any. Okay, that's actually weird. This has worked before. Do you ever use git k? No, I do not. D4RK hi. No idea how to pronounce your name, unfortunately. should. Oh, right, I didn't commit. Duh. I've got way too much on my mind. Yeah, git commit, initial commit, just use that, and git push origin master. So that'll go ahead and start my master branch off, and done. So I will go ahead and show you guys, and it goes from this to this. So yeah, it's obviously going to poke me to do some stuff, but yeah, so here's your stuff. So for anyone wondering about my solutions to the assignments, they're here. I might put the assignments themselves on later. Git push origin head is usually easier. I'm not an expert with Git by any means, but I do know how to at least get it to work for what I need to. So I'm happy to take advice from anyone who is more knowledgeable than me. I don't claim to be some genius by any means. I'm just some guy who likes to code and contributes to Showdown. But yeah, so anyone who's if you're interested in the class, actually, if you're new to coding and just watching stuff, here's the link, and it's hosted in the Discord. You can also join that if you want to hang out or be notified for streams. Another way to be notified, of course, is to follow on Twitch and turn on notifications, but I'm sure you guys know that. So yeah, good. This is good so far. I'm glad so many of you guys have showed up and stuck around. I really do appreciate that. So this is, I believe, about the end of what I was planning on doing here, at least. Yeah, it looks like it. We went through, I showed how to make a pull request. I showed off my amazing art skills like this thing. Oh, man. But it gets the idea across at least. So I hope that helps anyone, yeah. Does anyone have a question? Whether that's class related or Showdown questions, I'm happy to take pretty much any questions if you're curious about how something works, or if you're interested in contributing how that might work. Okay, you gotta get ready for work, Jolt. Thank you for showing up, Jolt. We're just about at the end here, so you didn't really miss anything. Thank you for sticking through to the end and asking so many good questions. I know Leaf is here. Yeah, thank you, Leaf. Please do come to me if you have any questions or concern. I know you were having trouble with statements and loops yesterday, so I really do want to keep helping you out if you need it, along with anyone else here who has stuff done. So, yeah, cool. In the meantime, since we got so many people here, why don't I... I'm going to just go ahead and say my stream end stuff, but then we're going to go look at something else because I'll trim it off when I upload the copy to YouTube. End stream message. If you're interested in future content, be sure to follow and turn on notifications and or join the Discord and ask for the stream notifications role. If you're interested in the class, read the document, join the Discord, ask for the student role. If you're interested in supporting me, bits and subs help with that. Otherwise, if you're artsy, I am looking for some people to potentially do some art for me, so feel free to contact me on Discord about that. But other than that, thank you for watching. And yeah. Okay, so I'll cut it about there. So let's go ahead and look at something else. So I want to show you guys some stuff here. Let me go to my repositories. Let's go to my PS repo. And I am working on an update for Staff Bros, like I said, which can be found here. Got about 101 commits so far. And it's basically, if you don't know what Staff Bros is an update, is a format on Showdown. It's got, basically it's a massively customized format. It's where all staff members, you have to be a room owner in a public room or a global staff member to participate by making a set. Create a set with, Pokemon. They all have custom moves, some have custom abilities, some have custom Z crystals or whatever, and all sorts of wacky stuff as a result. So, obviously this is master, come on. Take me to my branch. Okay, so there's all sorts of interesting things, like here's the moves file as an example. all sorts of information. Like we pull the team generator because some of these, like Bumbuzz, goes nuts. Let me find his. Let me just Control F. Okay, so like his is Wonder Trade. Places every non-fainted member of the user's team with a Super Staff Bros Brawl set that's randomly selected from all sets except those with the move Wonder Trade. Remaining HP and PowerPoint percentage, as well as status condition, are transferred onto the replacement set. Move fails if it's used by a Pokemon that did not originally know the move. Fails if the user is not Bumba. Because I put lots of restrictions on it, so yeah. 2 PowerPoints, no, doesn't get any extras, no flags, so this, we make sure that default animation doesn't run and we add our own. Make sure only Bumba can use it here, add a fail otherwise, and then this mess. So it starts by calculating what we're going to carry over through all the Pokemon. It loops through them all, it stores HP, status data, PowerPoints, a percentage specifically. And then any Pokemon with less than 4 moves, it just adds 1 to that because otherwise we're going to have issues. Like False only has 2 moves on its set, and if it rolls to a 4 move, it's going to crash because it doesn't have the valid data, so make sure that it's 100% for an empty slot. So, generates a new team. It calls the team generator in the battle, which is pretty nutty in itself. Like, that is not something designed normally. It took a while to figure that one out. Overwrite unfainted Pokemon other than the user. So it loops through the current team. If the Pokemon it's looking at is fainted, has no HP, or is the current Pokemon using this move, it skips continue. And those of you who are new in the class will know what continue means. So there's a use for it. Then it gets a new set from the team we generated. So the first set on the list, and the old set is the one we're looking at. So if the set that we're trying to put in is Bumba, yeah, we're not doing that. We're shifting to the next one, which should be fine because it's the only one we skip, and we replace up to 5, and we generate 6, so that should be okay. This one was tricky. Client will crash if we don't update the effect, and like this, so this is a bit weird, but it works, so it's a bit of a hack. We set the effect to blank like when we're initializing, and then we create a new Pokemon from the Pokemon class and set the effect back. We set the HP to the percentage of HP that the original Pokemon had, or 1 HP if it's 0. I probably should make that a check. If it's less than 0, set it to less than or equal to 0, set it to 1. I haven't had any issues with it yet. Status is old set.status. And the status data is also carried over that info, so like sleep will last the exact amount of turns. If you used rest on your old set and you had 1 turn left, you will be asleep for 1 turn still, not a random amount because we set a new sleep, which would be a very subtle bug if it was allowed. Then of course we loop through the move slot, and we set the PowerPoint equal to the percentage of the max PowerPoint of the original one. So like that does sometimes cause loss of PowerPoints. Like if you switch from a move that is 8 PowerPoints and you've used 1 of, that you have 7/8 left, to a move that had 64 PowerPoints, you'll have quite a few removed, and vice versa. Like if you had 63 out of 64 and you moved to a move that had only 8, you'd lose quite a bit of percentage because now you're 7 out of 8. Because it rounds down and prevents any sort of issues with PowerPoint stall or anything like that. And then it updates that stuff. And it got even more nutty with like Anubis's, which updates the active Pokemon. That's pretty insanely hard. Some other interesting things you might see in here is like Chaos. We roll a 1,000 sided die. If it lands on 420, should almost never happen, but it will be hilarious when it does. If it lands on 420, forcibly give the user's trainer the win. Quite literally, if you use Force Win on Chaos, you have a 1 in 1,000 chance to instantly win the game, regardless of anything else. Yeah, we occasionally allow stuff like this. That's a carryover from the old stuff, and I'm like, that's too good to not allow it. There's also some other things, Easter eggs in here I may or may not show, depending on if you guys want to see it. Why don't I show my set for now, because I think that's pretty cool. I have a custom terrain called scripted terrain. Short description is for 5 turns, bug, power, plus, and glitchy effects. Yeah, that's the funny part about that is I don't have any bug moves, it's just bugs in code. Only a coder would get that reference. Set the scripted terrain for 5 turns. Power bug moves boost by 1.5. 5% chance for every move used by any of the Pokemon on the field to become glitch out, which is basically metronome, but your move's base power is increased by 10 if it has base power. At the end of a turn, every Pokemon has a 5% chance to transform into a missing no, which is also fun to watch, with 3 random moves and glitch out in its 4th move. Switching out will restore the Pokemon to its normal state, and this terrain does affect flying Pokemon, so you can't use a flying type to avoid it. I'm going to deal with my hacks and RNG, whether you like it or not. So yeah, terrain extender turns into 8 turns. Base power boost bug types get chain modified by 1.5. On try hit, if effect and effect ID does not equal glitch out, because otherwise we'll have an infinite loop there. Potentially an infinite loop, because if it keeps rolling glitch out from glitch out, that's not good. So yeah, if you're glitching out, trying to use glitch out, or there's no effect, return. Roll a 20-sided die. If it's 1, add the message source.names move was glitched out by the scripted terrain, and use glitch out, return null. So done there. Otherwise it returns undefined, which is continuous normal. On start, it adds the message residual order, add each event, terrain, on terrain. If you're a missing no, or you're fainted, have no HP, don't bother with this. Roll it again, 1 out of 20. Debug scripted terrain. Pokemon name was corrupted by a bug in the scripted terrain. Generate a move pull, so it pulls the entire move dex, gets metronome. Let I pull, loop through the move, get the move. It's all shuffled as well, so it's a random order every time. If I does not equal move ID, continue, so if it's a special move that changes, don't bother with it. If it's a Z move or a non-standard aka custom move, don't use it. If metronome, no metronome, because that's a value on the metronome to ban certain moves that would cause trouble on our banded game. And it includes that move, also continue. And then the generation check as well, in case this is ever ported to older gens. We don't want someone using a move that doesn't exist in Gen 1 and Gen 1 or something. Add the move to the list of potential moves, and once it's above 3, break, we're done. Then add glitch out to the end, form change to a missing no, update the move slots with all the information. All moves are 5 power point, just like a Ditto, and done there. You're pretty nuts. On end scripted terrain. Glitch out is pretty simple itself. No metronome on these. On prepare hit, add stuff. On hit, it's basically metronome and puts all this information in. And where is the boost actually? Somewhere around here. Pretty sure. Oh right, it's a volatile. The volatile for this would be in statuses. Statuses also contains all the join leave messages. GUI, weight doubler, RCS, glitch out. So like glitch out, prevent glitch out from running more than once per turn per Pokemon, and boost base power. So like on try hit, if move base power plus equal 20, glitch out base power boost. So simple enough, it boosts that. Yeah, so I think that's pretty cool. It took a while to figure out, but not as nuts as Anubis, which has a call out in their statuses, actually, which is not too common. So they have, if this .random 300, roll 300-sided die, and if it lands on Ludicolo's dex number, in loving memory of the Super Staff Pros programming team Sanity, Anubis' set is op against programmer Sanity. I think we literally had 3 people working on this for like literally 14 hours of work or something, which is nuts for a Staff Bros set. Like most of these we can roll out in 30 minutes with a single person. It's mostly life and such that sometimes gets in the way. So yeah, that's always fun. Yeah, there's other Easter eggs buried in here, like A new one actually is this all xfix equals this dot random 500 equal 360. So a 1 in 500 chance that flag will be set to true. If it is, these are all the sets here, by the way. When we generate the pool, this is debug code, we'll get rid of that later. And it'll just be this. If name equal, normally that's this.sample no replace pool, which means pull a name from the pool of Staff Bros characters and remove it from that pool as well. It's an array, so you can't pick it again. But if it's all xfix, it just uses xfix repeatedly. So, and then there's a few other things, and this validation is also skipped because it will infinitely loop otherwise. And then it sets it all up and so forth. You'll have 6 xfixes on your team, and xfixes set is interesting in the sense that he's an Ox 2 with magic bounce, and his custom move is basically metronome that hits 2 to 5 times per turn. So yeah, it's pretty nuts what will happen there if you get a 6 xfix battle. Actually, I do have a replay if you guys want to watch that later. Let me link that. Come on, where is it? There it is. Actually, I'll just show a bit of it on stream and link it, so just... But yeah, so like, it's all xfixes. So it starts with, oops, I dropped my bags of xfix sets, sorry, and then it goes through this entire mess, like Glitzer Popper used Fury Swipes, Charge, Catastrophica, and it just KOs it conversion. So yeah, it's pretty nuts. They can go pretty nuts quite quickly. I honestly like the idea. It's nice to add all these silly little things to here. But yeah, I will go ahead and link that in chat as well for you guys if you want to watch the whole thing later. It's still in dev, that won't happen yet. One other Easter egg, if you're curious, is... Pluvometer has a move called Grammar Hammer, and if it hits me, because I'm known as the guy who can't spell or do grammar, it says he corrects my spelling, because if you look closely at my name, it's at this point intentional, but originally not misspelled. There's 2 N's in Hoenn, not 2 E's. So yeah, this little conversation will show up if you manage to get Pluvometer to use Grammar Hammer on a Ludicolo named Hoenn Hero in SSB. So that's the fun there, at least. So yeah, we might add more Easter eggs, maybe not. The most destructive one is obviously the Chaos Force Wind, followed by the Xfix one, followed by the messages. And like, some people have gone creative with their stuff, but yeah, there's a ton of different things like in here, all sorts of weird and wacky things that go on to get this stuff to work. So yeah, do you guys have any questions, or you guys want to ask if there's anything that you might want to see in here that I could show you, or whatever, or anything at all really? Hold on, let me hop into here and double check something. Alright, well, I'm gonna assume no then. It's been a pleasure, guys, though I don't really have a ton to talk about, I suppose. You guys actually decided to show up right before I ended my stream, which is horrible timing, but it's still appreciated nonetheless. I hope this was at least interesting for an extra look into things. And if you guys are interested in further content, whether that's me programming or my class, which will go on for the next couple of weeks, but after that I'll be doing a lot of PS work. If you're interested in that, be sure to follow and turn on notifications. Like, I do a lot of JavaScript work for PS, and soon that'll be TypeScript, so I gotta learn that whether I feel like it or not. And yeah, it's a pain, but whatever. And yeah, so thank you again, guys, and we'll see you guys later.